A wolf walks into a camp, not a puppy, not a friendly, tail-wagging golden retriever. A wolf, 40 pounds of teeth and instinct, padded paws on frozen ground, amber eyes catching firelight at the edge of the darkness. And nobody runs. That's the moment. That one weird, improbable moment, somewhere between 15,000 and 40,000 years ago, depending on which scientist you ask, where everything changed. Not just for the wolf, for us. For the entire arc of human civilization, honestly. Because the dog didn't get invented. Nobody sat down with a plan. Nobody selectively bred anything for decades, trying to get a specific result. The dog basically happened. And the way it happened is so much stranger than you've been told. Here's what most people assume. Early humans caught wolf pups, raised them, kept the calm ones, bred them over generations, and eventually got dogs. Simple, logical, controlled. Except that's almost certainly not how it worked. That theory has a problem. A big one. Wolf pups have an incredibly short socialization window, something like 3 to 4 weeks where they can bond with other species. Dogs have about 12 weeks. That's not a small difference. That's a fundamental behavioral gap. And it's baked into the biology in a way that suggests something much older and weirder is happening. The real story seems to start not with humans choosing wolves, but with wolves choosing us. Think about what a human camp looked like 20,000 years ago. Messy. Loud. Smelly. There were bones and scraps in half. Eaten carcasses everywhere. For a scavenger. Something that had evolved to exploit easy food sources. A human camp wasn't dangerous. It was a buffet. Most wolves would stay away. The skittish ones, the aggressive ones, they'd bolt at the first sign of humans or try to attack. Neither of those survival strategies paid off. But occasionally, you'd get a wolf with a slightly different temperament. A little less reactive. A little more tolerant of the weird, upright fire-building creatures nearby. And that wolf got to eat, got to survive, got to reproduce. This is called self-domestication. And it didn't require humans to do anything. The wolves with lower flight responses and lower aggression thresholds basically sorted themselves into a different category over generations. They weren't pets. They were just the ones who didn't die when they hung around humans. And that distinction matters a lot because the changes that followed weren't chosen. They cascaded. There's a famous experiment in Russia, started in 1959 by a geneticist named Dmitry Belyaev, where researchers bred silver foxes for only one trait: tameness. Just that. Willingness to be near humans without freaking out. Within 40 generations, something extraordinary happened. The foxes started developing floppy ears, spotted coats, curly tails, shortened snouts. Their cortisol levels dropped. They began making eye contact with humans the way domesticated dogs do. Nobody selected for any of that. They just selected for calm, and all the other stuff came with it, packaged together, somewhere deep in the developmental genetics. The same thing almost certainly happened with proto-dogs. One trait, low reactivity, started pulling on a whole cluster of physical and behavioral changes. Floppy ears showed up not because anyone liked them, but because the neural crest cells that govern ear cartilage are the same cells involved in the stress response. Less reactive animals, softer ears. It's the same biology, just expressed differently. That's wild. That's genuinely wild. But here's where it gets even stranger. Once dogs started hanging around humans regularly, something started happening to the humans too. We changed. Dogs could hear things we couldn't. Smell things we couldn't. They'd alert at sounds before any human ear registered anything. A pack of proto-dogs at the edge of camp meant earlier warnings about predators, about approaching strangers. The groups of humans who tolerated dogs nearby, or who actively encouraged them, had a measurable survival advantage. So the relationship wasn't just dogs adapting to us. We were, in some ways, adapting around them, offloading sensory work, building a kind of distributed awareness that neither species could do alone. And then something genuinely astonishing happened in dog cognition. Something that, as far as we know, no other animal on the planet developed to the same degree. Dogs learn to read our faces. Not just moods, the direction of our gaze. If you point at something, a chimpanzee will look at your finger. A dog will look at where you're pointing. That sounds trivial. It is not trivial. Understanding referential gestures, understanding that the gesture means something beyond itself, is a sophisticated cognitive leap. Even chimps, who share 98.7% of our DNA, don't reliably do this. Dogs do it almost automatically, and they didn't develop this because we trained it into them. Dog puppies, even ones raised without human contact, do this better than wolf pups raised with human contact. It's in the DNA now. 15,000 years of living alongside us rewired something fundamental in how they process social information. We made each other. There's one more piece of this that I find almost uncomfortable to think about. Oxytocin. the bonding hormone. The same chemical spike you get when you look at your own child or when a mother holds her newborn for the first time. When humans and dogs make eye contact, prolonged, soft eye contact, not a threat stare, both species get an oxytocin surge, simultaneously, in both directions. That mechanism exists in no other predator-prey or interspecies relationship on Earth. It evolved specifically in the human-dog bond. Which means at some point, some ancient wolf that wandered close to a fire looked up at a human and something clicked into place in the chemistry of both of them that had never existed before. That's not domestication. That's something closer to co-evolution, a loop, a feedback system that reshaped two different species at the hormonal level over thousands of years. Your dog isn't just an animal that tolerates you. Your dog is, in a real biological sense, adapted for you, built over millennia to make exactly this connection work. We tend to think of domestication as something humans did. A project, a technology, like inventing the wheel or figuring out agriculture, something controlled and directed. But the dog blows that idea up completely. The dog showed up, on its own terms, selected itself out of the wolf population by being slightly, almost imperceptibly, less afraid. And in doing so, it stumbled into the most successful interspecies partnership in the history of this planet. There are 1 billion dogs on Earth right now. No other large carnivore comes close. By every evolutionary metric, population, geographic spread, survival rate, it worked. Not because someone designed it. Because a wolf, or a few wolves, got a little too comfortable near a fire one night, and neither species ever fully recovered. Next time your dog follows you from room to room for absolutely no reason, know that it's not neediness. It's not stupidity. It's the product of a bond so old it predates agriculture, predates written language, predates almost everything we'd call civilization. That wolf made a choice. Turns out, it was the right one.